And now another video from the School of Mike. I only have a short amount of time. The topic that I want to talk about today is, I don't know, it follows the same models as always, with the abstract and the concrete, but I will flip it around today and talk about where to put your trust and the importance of not trusting things that could fail. Usually I write the idea from top to bottom, but today I sort of like to spin it around, and I would have the eternal or the undefined on this side, and then the concrete here on this side. The concept as it is, if I start with a summary, would be that if we put our trust in our lives and like all our energy into something that would eventually finish, we will get disappointed. We could eventually then sort of not die, but sort of our vision or our ambition could stop. An example would be someone that wins the Olympic gold medal. It's a common thing. We have a Swedish wrestler who won a gold medal, and unfortunately after that, I don't know all the details, but as far as I'm concerned, he went into a depression after he'd reached his goals, and then he, as a result of probably many things, but that was, as I understand it, part of it, he actually finished his own life. It's very, very tragic, and I shouldn't really have brought it up, but I did it anyway. The principle that I want to point out is that when we do something that are pointed towards in the future, we are in the risk of having our vision and ambition and motivation to fail us. So the solution to this is to believe in something that doesn't exist. And this is a paradox again, but all my ideas lean on the same paradox of the eternities. And perhaps I shouldn't use the word eternities, but like the realm in our lives that exists in the present moment is another definition that sort of explains the same thing. What I want to show here is that a lot of people, when they are looking outside of them, they think that the material world is constant. At least I did until a certain point in my life. I was like, I put my trust in like things that was around me, like even things like my parents. But I remember in high school, for instance, I put my trust in the system of the high school a lot. I spent a lot of energy with my friends and the schooling and everything that revolved around the high school. In Swedish, it's called gymnasiet. But I remember as it finished, I was really depressed. Like I didn't know what to do the day after the last day of school. It was like my whole realm or world of ideas sort of collapsed. And this is another example then of why it's important not to put your trust in something that will eventually stop. So if you can put your trust in something that doesn't start or finish, you would be always motivated, ambitious, and I don't know, you would always have energy to do something else. Like I think as a person, you need a vision in order to succeed, in order to be happy, to have energy and to proceed. If you have, for instance, a mother who sees her child being trapped under a car in a terrible accident, I mean, there's rumors and stories of parents who sort of lift the car and push it over to the side because they have such a strong vision that gives them energy. Like, if I don't put everything into this, it's over. So they just go through and do things that's impossible, really. What I want to get at is that if we take this as the material world or the concrete things that are around us, outside of us, like if I would put my trust then in even a mountain or in the planets revolving around in the universe, the lie that we can sort of put our lives to is that is stable. But the fact is that everything in, the big word now, universe, everything's outside of us. It moves constantly. And it shifts and it shades. It starts and it stops. And it swings back and forth. And here's the problem then. If we're not supposed to trust anything that we can see and touch and weigh and measure, and not even in the knowledgeable realm, we can't really touch anything trust anything, because that too evolves and changes. So therefore I invented again, here we go again, it's the same idea again that we lean on. The things that doesn't exist. Here's the paradox. If we trust in something that doesn't exist, it cannot fail us. And how do you do this? Again, as a human being, then we are a subject, like we have a part of us that is full of abstract things, which is life itself, like our own consciousness. Now, if we spend time to exploring this, we'll find a base for ourselves that we can rely on, that's not depending on anything else that could fail us. So, what I'm going to do here is, like, if we propose that this area right here, I put an A for abstract. The most abstract thing we can think of is something that's, by definition, is not defined, and it's the ultimate nothingness. Now, if we can find this treasure and live by it and lean towards it, it would not really fail us. But if we put our lives and trust in something that will come in the future, or that when we reach it in the future, it will be behind us. So the thing that we trust is behind us. In that sense, we can fail. Okay, so here's the thing. Some people believe in the material. I mean, they might not even be aware of it, but that is will eventually lead to a big problem. But if you can find something that is because it is, you'll be like a child, really, that will live on continuously. To sum it all up, the idea that I want to show today is that a lot of people put their trust then in the material. But because the material sort of swings back and forth, this might be a bit abstract, but if it is, I will go deeper into it. But if we think of the material, it swings back and forth in opposites. And when it swings, it can turn upside down. I know this sounds a bit abstract, but if I'm given more time, I can explain it deeper. But if we find something that's in between, that's in perfect balance and harmony, something that is because it is because it is. Then,
Det är en sång som jag har typ sagt.
Han bråkar med er alltså? Walter?
Han slår med en pinne som är jättevass.
Okej, jag får gå ut och prata med honom senare. Jag kommer ut och...
Han har hållit på så jättelänge.
Okej.
Jag tror att isen kommer spricka.
Ja, han måste komma in sen för det är kallt ändå. Men stäng dörren så ska jag kommer ut alldeles strax. Okay, that's a little break. One example that I can give in this area is that sometimes I find people that can never stop doing what they're doing because they like what they do. For instance, I think of someone being in this area and handling the material world is children, really. Like children, they belong to this area already because they don't have as much knowledge. They just act because they act. Like if you give, and you know when you have children and you see them in their, like in the playroom, and they have all their toys out and they just sit there and sing and like move and play, really. That's when you put your trust in something that's actually in the present moment, which is not depending on time. That's the point where I want to emphasize, is that as a human being, if you want to live a beautiful life really and have a good time, you should put your trust in the things that doesn't belong to time. And I'll get back to this later. That's the idea of today.